Hello and thank you for joining us again on Gumzo Open Source Podcast. Believe it or not, it's a pure delight that you're sparing time to listen to us. And today we have a special episode where we just want to discuss something that we are very familiar to, and that is webinars. Believe it or not, I couldn't tell there's a stark difference between a meeting and a webinar. And in my discovery, I realized that there's an open source way you can hold webinars. But first of all, let me just expose the difference for you who is or are like me, who didn't know exactly the difference between a webinar and a meeting. But make no mistake, today we are discussing the open source way of having a webinar. And I'll tell you the context and the motivation for me to share this after the definitions. Well, a meeting, this is what we have on Google Meet, on Microsoft Teams, on Zoom. Majorly, it's meetings that we are having on those platforms. And quite succinctly and briefly, a meeting is a collaborative event where all participants have equal privileges to share audio, video, and screen content. It emphasizes interaction and real-time collaboration, regardless whether you are the convener. But you realize a lot of times we'll be telling people, please raise your hand, mute yourself. In a webinar, that doesn't happen. So what is a webinar? What is a webinar? A webinar is defined as a broadcast-style event designed for larger audiences where the host or a few selected presenters share content with many participants who primarily listen and watch. A case in point is recently in Kenya when the president wanted to have a dialogue and engagement with the youth, the Gen Zs. What happened? The Gen Zs said or proposed to meet the president on X Spaces. And basically, a space in X is a sample of a webinar. It might not have the capacity of a standard webinar, but that is what the president went or used as a platform to communicate. Though they had a lot of hitches, sometimes the convener, the host, couldn't access the space, and multiple people were still locked out. They couldn't access the space. But in essence, the space is a webinar where the host has the prerogative of selecting who's going to speak and who's not going to speak. You're majorly listening, right? And watching what is happening. And you can comment on the side. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another open source podcast. And today we'll be looking at Jitsi Moderated Meetings. That is the solution, our flagship solution for this episode. That is the center of attention, center of discussion and engagement. So strap up, listen with us, and let us learn together. If you have any comment, please do not shy away from writing to us, seeking clarification, asking questions, criticizing us. We can always get better at this. So our center of discussion today, we are looking at webinars and how to do them in an open source free manner. Jitsi in itself is a solution that I came across quite a while ago when I was creating an e-board, basically a platform for people to do announcements, host meetings, collaborate on documents, and that is where I came across Jitsi. And I didn't know there was a Jitsi Moderated Meetings. Essentially, what now creates a webinar. So what happens in the webinar scenario is that you have two links. One for the host, who has all the controls, and another one for the audience or the other participants. So Jitsi Moderated Meetings is an extension of Jitsi Meet platform that introduces moderation capabilities, allowing for more structured and controlled virtual events that we are calling webinars now. And let us have a look at functionalities and capabilities of Jitsi Moderated Meetings. Number one, we'll first look at use cases, and the use cases that we identified were four. Begin with number one, educational institutions. Number two, corporate events or environment. Number three, public webinars and conferences. Number four, community and non-profit organizations. Remember, this is purely open source. Of course, they have their monetization branch or product that they call 8x8, but Jitsi Moderated Meetings, as far as I know, is an open source solution for webinars. So let us go through each of the use cases. For educational institutions, we could look at scenarios where you have lectures and classrooms where teachers can control who speaks and manage student participation. Then we could also look at a scenario where we have examinations where moderators can ensure only specific participants can interact at any given time. In the case of open book evaluations or group works or discussions where you're told go and do this particular assignment as a group, and in such a group you'd have a moderator who will give everyone a chance to speak as the rest are listening. No one raises their hand, no one just speaks out of turn. It is the job of the moderator to regulate who speaks and who doesn't. Then the other thing would be corporate events. You have board meetings. The CEO and senior management can moderate discussions and control the flow of the meetings. On the same vein, you could look at training sessions. Trainers can manage at a corporate level the sessions by allowing questions at specific times, ensuring a smooth training process. The other use case would be public webinars and conferences. In it, you could look at large-scale events where moderators can handle large numbers of participants, maintaining order and managing questions through a structured process. You could look at also on the same point of public webinars and conferences, you could look at guest speaker sessions. The guest speaker can be spotlighted and audience interaction can be managed effectively. The other thing would be the aspect of community and non-profit organizations. Our last use case scenario. For community, look at town hall meetings, or in our Swahili context, look at barazas. Leaders can control the meeting flow and address community questions in an orderly fashion. The other thing would be for NGOs, let's say for any interventions that they are involved in. We could look at workshops where facilitators can manage participation and ensure productive sessions. Now let's go to functionalities and capabilities of Jitsi Moderated Meetings. I don't know why they call it meetings, but it should be a webinar, even the way it's structured. Actually, it's a webinar, only that it has the name meetings. There are key functionalities that we could look at, about 7 or 8. Number one would be role-based permissions. These are functionalities, remember, which distinguish a webinar from a meeting. Number one is role-based permissions, where you have two actors. Number one, you have moderators. Number two, you have participants. And I said moderators have full control over the meeting, including muting participants, removing participants, and starting or stopping recordings. The other thing would be the party B, would be participants, standard attendees with limited control, primarily to listen and engage as allowed by the moderator. I think this is the strongest point that distinguishes a webinar from a meeting. Then we could look at access control, password protection. This is standard across meetings and webinars. You'll have a link sent to you, but you have to enter a particular phrase or a password for you to gain access. Then we have under access control, we still have waiting rooms. In many meetings, we would have lobbies, breakout rooms. Those are standard features. And now this is also brought into webinars. In number 3, we'd have meeting management. As I said, you can mute and unmute participants. Participant removal. As a host, you can remove any participant to maintain the integrity of the engagement. Then breakout rooms. What I've seen in meetings, lobbies where as you wait to be admitted, you are thrown into a lobby. But actually having breakout rooms is not quite common in meetings. Breakout rooms is where in the middle of the meeting you agree to deliberate on something, and you can have people break out into small caucuses, discuss something, let's say for 5 to 10 minutes, and then they're back into the main meeting, right? So the ability to create breakout rooms or smaller group discussions within larger meetings is available and quite honestly unique in webinars. Then the other thing, point number 4 would be interactive features such as screen sharing. It's not unique to webinars. That is something standard even in meeting solutions, chat and Q&A sessions, and polling. Many webinars and meeting solutions, some of them will have polling, others will not have, but in Jitsi Moderated Meetings you will have, and I have seen that firsthand, polling. Moderators can conduct polls to gather feedback and opinions with other participants. And number 5 would have recording and streaming. That is self-explanatory. You can hook up Jitsi Moderated Meetings to platforms like YouTube and expand the audience and reach. You can also record for future references. Then we have customizability and integrations. Custom layouts. The interface and layouts can be customized to suit specific needs. Integration. Jitsi Moderated Meetings can be integrated with the platforms such as calendar systems, email clients for seamless scheduling and notifications. Then finally, we have the technical capability. Number 1, quite critical. This is open source. That is number 1, because Jitsi is open source, allowing for extensive customization, self-hosting options for organizations with specific security considerations or requirements. Scalability can handle varying numbers of participants from small meetings to large meetings. I was astonished the other day when I saw at around 125,000 users that X was having a problem with scaling. Performance was a huge issue, that the host can be thrown outside the space and have problems regaining access. Participants the same thing. So going open source, it's a way you can control. In fact, there's you can say you want to have it self-hosted, or you can use the Jitsi software as a service solution. That for me, I've seen. I don't know at what point they start throttling or curtailing the quality, but it's free. I don't think a lot of people realize they can use Jitsi Moderated Meetings for free. Then high quality video and audio, support for HD video and audio for clear communication. That I have seen. I don't know now for sure if you got to 50,000 people how it would handle that, but that is something I don't know if anyone has witnessed how it handles, how available it is, how it handles large load. Maybe you can drop us a comment. But from my observation, I thought it could probably perform much better than X. So just to conclude, I would say Jitsi Moderated Meetings provide a robust platform for both interactive online meetings and structured webinars, offering a range of functionalities that cater to different use cases. The moderation capabilities per se ensure that meetings are well managed, secure, and productive, making it versatile for various organizational needs. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you got an opportunity to appreciate what is the difference between a webinar and meeting. And again, just to recap, we said that a webinar is a broadcast style event designed for large audiences where the host or a few selected presenters share content with many participants who primarily listen and watch. Whereas a meeting, such as what you have on Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, these are collective. It's a collective event where all participants have equal privileges to share audio, video, screen, and even files. So that's the gist of it, all pun intended. And I hope you enjoyed. It was educative. We are gonna leave the link on our show notes so that you're able to appreciate, have a look at it, and give us some feedback. Some of the things we do are informative, educational, just for you to have a look and taste of open source and what it has to offer. So with that, I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. Be blessed. Let's meet on the next session.
you.